In the bustling city of Lagos, a young woman named Sarah was getting ready for an important job interview. She had recently graduated from the University of Lagos and was excited about starting her career. As she rummaged through her jewelry box, she found her mother's old ring. It was a beautiful gold band with an intricate design and a small ruby at its center. Sarah's mother, Nneka, had always told her that this ring brought good luck. Sarah decided to wear the ring, hoping it would give her the confidence she needed. She put it on and admired how it sparkled in the morning light. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. "This ring will always guide you, my dear. It holds the spirit of our ancestors." The company she was interviewing for was a prestigious one, known throughout Nigeria for its excellence in the financial sector. The building was tall and gleaming, reflecting the sun's rays. Sarah felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as she entered the grand lobby. She checked in with the receptionist and took a seat, waiting for her turn. When her name was called, she stood up and took a deep breath. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, feeling the ring warm against her finger. Sarah was led into a large conference room with a long wooden table. At the end of the table sat a man in a sharp suit. His nameplate read Chief Olumide Adesina. He was the CEO of the company and one of the most influential businessmen in the city. As Sarah approached, she noticed his sharp eyes and a serious expression. She extended her hand, and Chief Olumide shook it firmly. "Nice to meet you, Sarah," he said, his voice deep and commanding. "Please have a seat." As Sarah sat down, Chief Olumide's gaze fell on her hand. His eyes widened, and he looked as if he had seen a ghost. He stared at the ring on Sarah's finger, his mouth slightly open in shock. Sarah noticed his reaction and followed his gaze to the ring. "Is everything all right, sir?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Chief Olumide shook his head, as if trying to clear his thoughts. "That ring," he began, his voice faltering. "Where did you get it?" Sarah looked at the ring and then back at him. "It belonged to my mother," she replied softly. "She gave it to me for good luck." Chief Olumide's eyes filled with a mix of emotions, shock, recognition, and a hint of sorrow. He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples, as if trying to process what he was seeing. "Your mother. What is her name?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Nneka," Sarah answered, confusion spreading across her face. "Nneka Okafor." Chief Olumide's eyes closed for a moment, and when he opened them, they were filled with tears. "Nneka Okafor," he repeated, as if the name carried a weight he had long forgotten. He looked at Sarah with a deep, searching gaze. "I never thought I would see that ring again, or meet the woman who wears it." Sarah was stunned. She had never seen her mother wear the ring or speak much about its history. It was just a piece of jewelry to her, a family heirloom. But it was clear that to Chief Olumide, it meant something far more significant. "How do you know my mother?" Sarah asked, her curiosity piqued and her nerves momentarily forgotten. Chief Olumide took a deep breath. "Nneka and we were once very close. Many years ago, before you were born. That ring was a symbol of our bond." Sarah's mind raced. She had never heard of this connection before. Her mother had always been reserved about her past, especially about her relationships. "Are you saying you knew my mother well?" Sarah asked, trying to piece together the puzzle. Chief Olumide nodded slowly. "Yes, Sarah. Nneka and I were more than just acquaintances. She was my first love. And if you are wearing that ring, then there is something you need to know." Sarah leaned in, her heart pounding in her chest. She could feel that she was on the verge of discovering something that would change her life forever. Chief Olumide's next words came slowly, laden with emotion. "Sarah," he said softly, "I am your father." The room fell silent as the weight of his words hung in the air. Sarah stared at him, her mind unable to process what she had just heard. "My father?" she repeated, her voice barely audible. "But my mother never mentioned you." Chief Olumide looked down, a pained expression crossing his face. "There are many things I wish I could have told you and your mother, but life took us on different paths. I never knew you existed until now." Sarah felt a whirlwind of emotions: shock, confusion, and a strange sense of connection to the man sitting across from her. She had come for a job interview, but instead, she had found a part of her past she never knew existed. Before she could say more, Chief Olumide spoke again, his voice steadying. "Sarah, there's so much I need to explain. But first, tell me about yourself. I want to know everything." Sarah took a deep breath and began to speak, feeling that this unexpected meeting was just the beginning of a new chapter in her life. Sarah's mind was racing, but she took a deep breath and started to speak. "Well, I grew up in Ikoyi with my mother. She worked hard to give me a good life. She always told me to follow my dreams and never give up." Chief Olumide listened intently, his eyes never leaving her face. He seemed to be absorbing every word, as if trying to catch up on all the lost years. "My mother never talked much about her past," Sarah continued. "She just focused on raising me and making sure I had everything I needed. She was my rock." Chief Olumide nodded slowly, a look of deep regret on his face. "Your mother was a remarkable woman. We were very young when we met. Life was simpler then, but we were full of dreams. We planned to build a future together, but circumstances drove us apart." Sarah leaned forward, her curiosity getting the better of her. "What happened between you two?" He sighed heavily, as if the weight of the past was pressing down on him. "We came from different worlds. My family was wealthy and powerful, and they had plans for my future that didn't include Neka. When I was sent abroad to study, our communication dwindled. By the time I returned, things had changed. My family had arranged my marriage to someone else, and I couldn't defy them." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she listened. "Did you ever try to find her again?" Chief Olumide looked away, his expression pained. "I did, but by then, it was too late. She had moved on, and I thought it best not to disturb her life. I never knew she had a daughter. If I had known, things might have been different." Sarah felt a strange mix of anger and sadness. "Why didn't she ever tell me about you?" He reached across the table and gently took her hand. "Perhaps she wanted to protect you from the pain of our past. Or maybe she wanted to shield you from my world. I don't know. But I'm here now, and I want to make things right." Sarah looked into his eyes, searching for the truth. She saw the sincerity and regret in his gaze, and felt a wave of compassion. Despite the shock and the whirlwind of emotions, a part of her wanted to give him a chance. "I've missed so much of your life, Sarah," Chief Olumide continued. "I want to be part of it now, if you'll let me. I can't change the past, but I want to be there for you in the future." Sarah took a moment to gather her thoughts. This was a lot to process. She had come looking for a job, but she had found her father instead. It was overwhelming, yet she felt a sense of fate, as if the ring had indeed guided her to this moment. She squeezed his hand, feeling a spark of connection. "I think I would like that," she said softly. "But it's going to take time. We have a lot to learn. Sarah left the interview with her heart and mind in turmoil. The encounter with Chief Olumide had turned her world upside down. She couldn't stop thinking about the revelations and the possibilities that lay ahead. Back in her apartment, Sarah sat on her bed, staring at her mother's ring. The ruby glowed softly, as if holding all the secrets of the past. She remembered how Nneka always seemed to avoid talking about her father. Sarah had grown up with unanswered questions, and now, finally, she had some answers, though they brought more complexity than closure. Later that evening, Sarah called her best friend, Chamaka, to share the unbelievable news. Chamaka listened in shock, her eyes wide as Sarah recounted the day's events. "Are you serious?" Chamaka exclaimed. "Your father is Chief Olumide Adesina, the billionaire CEO?" Sarah nodded, still in disbelief herself. "I can't believe it either. It feels like a dream." Chamaka reached out and hugged her tightly. "Sarah, this is huge. What are you going to do?" Sarah sighed, feeling the weight of her newfound reality. "I don't know. I want to get to know him, but I'm scared. What if it changes everything?" Chamaka smiled reassuringly. "It will change things, but that doesn't have to be bad. You deserve to know your father, and he deserves to know you. Take it one step at a time." The following week, Chief Olumide invited Sarah to lunch. He chose a quiet restaurant with a beautiful view of the Lagos Lagoon. As they sat across from each other, he looked at her with a mixture of pride and apprehension. "I'm so glad you agreed to meet me again," he said, his voice warm. "I know this is overwhelming, and I want to go at your pace. I want to hear about your life, your dreams, and your plans." Sarah smiled, feeling a bit more at ease. "Well, I love finance and business, which is why I applied for the job at your company. I want to make a difference in our community, to help people rise out of poverty and achieve their dreams." Chief Olumide's eyes lit up with admiration. "You remind me so much of your mother. She had the same passion and drive. You know, she always wanted to start a foundation to support young entrepreneurs. Maybe we could work on that together." Sarah's heart swelled with emotion. "I would love that. It's like continuing her legacy." As they talked, the initial awkwardness began to fade. They shared stories, laughed at small jokes, and started to build a bridge between their worlds. Chief Olumide told her about his childhood, his struggles to assert his independence, and his journey to becoming a successful businessman. In return, Sarah shared her experiences, her love for her mother, and her aspirations for the future. Over the next few months, their bond grew stronger. Chief Olumide became a mentor and a father figure in Sarah's life. He introduced her to his world, guiding her through the complexities of the business realm while respecting her insights and ideas. Sarah found herself thriving under his mentorship, learning not just about business, but also about family, heritage, and forgiveness. One day, as they sat in his office, overlooking the bustling city, Chief Olumide handed Sarah an envelope. "This is for you," he said with a smile. Sarah opened it and gasped. It was a letter of appointment, offering her a significant role in his company. "Are you serious?" she asked, her eyes wide with surprise. "Absolutely," he replied. "You've proven yourself to be more than capable. And besides, this company is part of your legacy. I want you to help shape its future." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she looked at the letter. "Thank you," she whispered. "This means so much to me." Chief Olumide reached out and held her hand. "It's just the beginning, Sarah. We have a lot to achieve together." As Sarah stepped into her new role, she felt a sense of purpose and belonging. She was no longer just a young woman searching for her place in the world. She was part of a family, carrying forward the dreams of both her mother and father. One evening, as they sat in their favorite restaurant, Chief Olumide looked at Sarah with a proud smile. "Your mother would be so proud of you," he said softly. "And so am I." Sarah felt a lump in her throat as she looked at him. "Thank you, Dad," she said, the word feeling both strange and comforting on her lips. "I couldn't have done it without you." They clinked their glasses in a toast, celebrating not just their achievements, but the journey they had taken to find each other. Sarah knew that the future held many challenges and opportunities, but she was ready to face them, hand in hand with the father she had found when she least expected it. As they looked out over the city, the setting sun casting a golden glow over the lagoon, Sarah felt a deep sense of peace. She wore her mother's ring on her finger, a symbol of the past and a beacon for the future. And she knew that whatever lay ahead, she would face it with the strength and love that had brought her to this moment.